appreciate you being here. I know it's early. Amelia, would you mind giving us an overview of Senate Bill 332? We'll start there.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senate Bill number 332 relates to property taxation and would exclude buyer's premiums from the sale price of property purchased at auction for purposes of the real estate sales validation questionnaire and for property tax valuation purposes.
Committee, do you have any questions on this? It's pretty simple, yeah. I feel bad those guys are late. What are the committee's wishes? Do you guys want to proceed with this, or do you want to give them a few more minutes? I know Senator Peterson's online, but Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to express some concerns over not having as straightforward a system in terms of sales of property as there might be in terms of a percentage when you work through a realtor. You know, that's often a percentage. So to me, this opens up a little too much in terms of a buyer being able to somehow negotiate and say, this is the price of the property. I guess it's an auction, so that might not be as important a thing, but I feel like the value of a property is how much you had to pay for it, and this would in some ways go around that.
Okay, thank you, Senator Amelia. We do have a possible amendment. I'd like the committee to look at it and see what your thoughts are. This bill is quite interesting. You think it would be one of those simple bills, but there was discussion during the hearing about realtors. Yes, thanks. And so this amendment was drawn up, and I'd like you to take a look at it, and we'll have Amelia explain it, and then open it up for discussion.
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
The handout is a possible proposed amendment that essentially changes the language to remove the reference to auction premiums, but instead refer to the concept as third-party intermediary premiums, charges, commissions, or fees that are charged to and paid by a buyer for services rendered to facilitate a real estate sale transaction. But the language is kept relating to that the charges need to be separately stated in writing, and no part of such premiums, charges, commissions, or fees should be received by the seller.
Senator Schallenberger.
Thank you. I think I understand this, and I think it's a good idea, but it's just those that are paid by the buyer. So I list my property, I'm the seller, I pay a commission, that's part of the price. If I'm a buyer and I've hired a realtor, for example, to be a buyer's agent, that's the part. We got that right?
Yes, that would be the part to be consistent with the auction buyer's premium. But it just makes sense that it's not, I can see the arguments both ways, but to include real estate agents also. Is there any questions? Committee, what are your wishes? Anybody? Senator Schallenberger? You'll move, okay. It's been moved by Senator Schallenberger, seconded by Senator Owens, that we make the motion to make it third-party buyers premiums as the amended was handed out. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. We're back on the bill. Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I'm more comfortable with this than I was with just the auction. I do know that if we pass this, it will make a significant change from one year to the next in terms of what individuals will be needing to pay in terms of property tax.
Yes, Senator, this is a significant change. It's not, it may seem like a, yes, that is correct. So Senator Owens.
Madam Chair, if you're ready for a motion on this bill, I'm happy to present one. I would motion that we pass out Senate Bill 332 as amended to full Senate favorably.
Been moved by Senator Owens, seconded by Senator Schallenberger. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Committee will turn our attention now to Senate Bill 320. Amelia, will you give us an overview?
Sure.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senate Bill number 320 relates to property taxation and would expand exemption eligibility to include commercial and industrial machinery and equipment that was acquired or transported into the state on or before June 30 of 2006. The bill would amend KSA 79223 to include property acquired on or before that date to the current exemption for commercial industrial machinery and equipment. And the exemption would take effect with tax year 2026.
Thank you, Amelia. Eddie, did you have the information on the counties?
I believe I sent that to John, and John forwarded it out to the full committee. I do not know if that was Thursday or Friday, but it was one of those 2
It was
days.
sent, yeah, I remember now. It was sent last week. Okay. Committee, any questions on this? I do know that there's a couple of counties that have a greater impact with this legislation, and there is a fiscal note. Senator Owens.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I was just going to bring that out. Overall, I'm very supportive of what we're trying to accomplish here. I know some of our counties, specifically Sedgwick, had indicated with some of our larger legacy manufacturers down there that this could really have a significant impact and kind of create a bit of a cliff, if you will. While I didn't come prepared with any kind of an amendment, I think we should still move it forward. They can certainly make some considerations or address that in the House when it gets over there. But some consideration along the lines of a phased-in approach, I think, is what they were thinking. They were supportive as well. They just are concerned about that immediate knockoff. So I will certainly be supportive today, Madam Chair.
No, I'm glad you brought it up, Senator. I do have a couple, well, one amendment, and then we could make a consensual amendment to what you're looking at. Amelia, do you mind? So there was testimony we heard during the hearing from AT&T, and the railroads did not testify, but Amelia brought to my attention that if we did it for the telecommunications also, that the railroad is in that same section of statute. So this committee would deal with the telecommunications request to be included in this exemption as they are currently exempted. And then it would also include the railroads. And Amelia, did I cover that? Okay, thank you. I didn't know, sorry. Any questions, committee, on the amendment? Senator Starnes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just on the fiscal note that we've been provided, what would that do as far as the fiscal note that we've already been provided?
Good question, Senator Eddie, do you mind?
The railroads and telecom add another about 26-ish% to the underlying cost of the all other property. And obviously similar to the all other property that's distributed across all 105 counties. That was included in the document that John forwarded it out. The kind of third column was the railroads and telecom.
Senator Starn.
So it's in an email that was after this February 3rd. Okay, I need to check that. Because my only concern is I support the concept other than just the school district funding piece and the loss of those revenues. 65 or 6.5 million in 2028 and goes down to 5.5 2031. So just that is a concern as far as local school districts.
Thank you. Senator Schallenberger.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not supportive of this bill. We keep nickeling and diming these tax exemptions, and I understand that if you are paying one of these taxes, you don't want to pay it. I don't begrudge anybody for that, but the person that owns a home is going to pick the tab up. So railroads are going to get a break now, and utility companies are going to get a break now, and people that own machinery who can who can negotiate their property tax based on income approach get a break. But we're back to the homeowners we'll pick it up. It's just that there's going to be a shift caused by this, and I've voted for these for years, and I have decided this year I'm done with giving more property tax exemptions to people until the homeowners get one. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Committee, what are your wishes on the amendment? I'll move the amendment. Is there a second on it? It's been moved by Senator Tyson, seconded by Senator Owens. Discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion fails. We're back on the bill. Committee, what are your wishes on the bill? Senator Owens.
Madam Chair, again, I'm happy to provide a conceptual amendment, if that's acceptable, maybe up for discussion, that would phase this in over 10 years. So a 10% reduction each year over 10 years. And I'll open that up for discussion and move that forward.
10% reduction. Would that be feasible, or would it be easier to take off a year? Do you mind if?
No, absolutely.
Okay.
Not the revisers there.
So I'm sorry, you
He's
guys,
smarter
to
than
put
I
you on
am.
the spot so quickly. This may not be ready for prime time, but there might be an easier way to write it or a more logical. Yeah. Amelia, do you mind?
Just at first blush, without having time, I mean, I would like to consider it more and give this more thought. I think there might be some concerns with maybe constitutionally about percentages of exemption for this property. So I would like more time to think about it.
So
if you want a real recommendation.
I think if we did was take a year or two at a time instead of just a percentage. I think that might, like, instead of 2026, it goes back to 24 or 25. Would something like that, or not 25, 06, I'm sorry. Senator, would that be, and I didn't mean logical, it's all logical. It's just what would be allowed by current statute.
Sure, thank you, Madam Chair. I rely on the revisers regularly to help me make sense of the things in my brain, so that's not a problem at all. I have no objection certainly to that. I just don't know, is there a stopping point? If we did 2 years at a time, is it gonna take us 100 years to get back 200 years or
So,
where this started?
Senator, what I would suggest is maybe a 2-year look back for 5 years and then exempt everything after that. Something of that growth, that way it would eventually.
Sure.
I think that would address some of the concerns with the schools also.
I'm amenable to that.
Yeah. Eddie, I know that's a lot to ask on a fiscal note. It may not, because we have no idea when that property was bought or purchased.
We don't immediately. The taxpayers obviously do, and PVD may have some information, but certainly not right away in this meeting of this committee.
So what are your wishes, committee? Senator Schallenberger?
Well, I'm thinking this dog might not hunt. And so I'm going to make a motion that we report it adversely and see what happens.
I haven't seen that move for a few years, so
Well,
we can try it.
you want to table it?
No, I'd rather,
Just thinking, let's just,
we don't need to move on it. We can wait until after turnaround. Senator Owens?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd be more than happy to work with the revisers and take this up after turnaround, and then we'll see if we have a better fiscal picture with that amendment in there, and then bring it back to the full body when you're ready.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you, Senator. Any other comments or, okay. Thank you, committee. We'll turn our attention now to Senate Bill 319.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, as you may recall, Senate Bill number 319 relates to property taxation and would provide for a property tax rebate for certain real property used for residential or commercial and industrial purposes when such property sells in a qualifying sale for less than 97% of the county appraised value. Specifically, the bill would allow an owner of any qualifying property who sold such property in a qualifying sale for a fair market value sale price that is less than 97% of the county's appraised value of such property for such tax year, to make an application for a rebate in an amount equal to the excess property taxes levied upon such property. There would be an application process, and then also the applicant could request a refund for or a rebate for up to 4 additional years preceding that if the county's appraised value was more than the sale price.
Okay, are there any questions, committee? And Senator Francisco?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm trying to understand how this might work in connection with Senate Bill 332 that we just addressed, because that is actually, in some ways, I think if there's a new sale, going to be at a price, because it doesn't include the commission, at a price that could easily be less than the appraised value. Does that make sense?
So would you like to direct your question to somebody?
I'll just state that my concern is that if we are reducing new sales by the price of, the commission or charges, then all of a sudden those prices are likely to be less than the valuation that's been established by the county appraiser, because those previous prices would have included that valuation. So I think we would be then reducing the amount of property tax by not including the intermediary charges, and then we would be allowing it to be reduced again. Is my math correct?
Senator, I see your point, but I see your point. I'll just leave it at that. Senator Clump.
I will, thank you, Madam Chair. Interpreting what you're saying, if you extract out auction houses, does that get you to a point where this makes more sense? Because auction houses are driving down, selling something more than likely at a discount. Then you take off the fee, so it drives it under the percentage, which is going to affect this legislation that you're talking about. Am I hearing your words right?
Yeah, I think it would be both auction houses, though, and other sales, because if right now property values have increased on an amount that includes the sale price. So if you now exclude that in the next sale, your sale is likely to be less. I mean, I guess it wouldn't be that case if it went up 6%, but, and it would make a difference if the buyer or the seller split the realtor's fee. But all of a sudden, we're adding this because of the other change we're suggesting. So we're giving new purchasers of property two chances at a reduction, and one of them may be not because the appraiser had miscalculated, but simply because that new price does not include those third-party charges.
But Senator, this only kicks in if they're over and above, if that exceeds the appraised value by a certain percentage. Senator Schallenberger.
Yeah, only if it's under the appraised value. And so I think you've got it all. I understand where you're coming from, but I think you ended up in the wrong place. I think if a new property is immediately valued at less, the chances of a seller under this bill chances of a seller for selling at less than appraised value become less likely than more likely.
Thank you. I was just,
Yeah, I think it was reversed.
And
She was worried about the county having to pay more because of this, and I think it's actually the other bill, it kind of alleviates that some. Senator Schallenberger,
Thank
yes.
you. I had a bill like this once in my life, and it got about as far as this one's got so far. And my only concern is it really doesn't seem fair. I hate to be too fair with cities and counties, that the reverse doesn't apply. Because I know people that buy property and within 2 years, they are objecting to the value and it's already less than they paid for it. And they just keep objecting and fighting it. And then they sell it for a huge profit. But that's life. I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to hold the county appraiser's feet to the fire, saying that you got to be close or the county has to pay it back. So I support this.
Senator Corson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do support the intent of this bill, and I'm glad that Senator Thompson brought it forward. What I'm wondering is if there is a way to proof this so it can't be abused by bad actors. And what I mean by that is because you can now, if this were to be law, you could now get a rebate. And so you could have situations where you could have a buyer going to a seller and saying, hey, I know that the value is probably X, is probably fair market value for this, but why don't you just sell it to me for Y which would be below fair market value, because then under this law, you could just apply to get this rebate from the county. So you would have a situation where you wouldn't always be guaranteed where there was an arm's length fair market transaction, because you could just say, well, can you just cut me a break on this? Because then you can go to the county and try to make up some of the difference there. And I don't know if there's a way to, I don't have an amendment worded, but I don't know if there's a way to think about how we could prevent that situation from happening.
Thank you. Amelia?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, looking at page 2 of the bill, and I don't know if this is exactly what you're thinking, but there is a provision in the bill, starting on line 21 on page 2, that provides that an application shall be denied if the applicant intentionally altered the property or accepted less than fair market value for the purpose of receiving a rebate under this section.
I mean,
Senator Corson?
yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I think that's helpful. I'm glad that language is there. I think you're still sort of leaving it to the honor system, but I'm glad that it's there. It's certainly better it's there than not.
So we've never really done this, but I guess we could consider a penalty for fraud or misuse. Committee, I will ask the committee, would you like to work on an amendment for the bill, or would you rather work the bill today? Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The question may be how you determine fair market value, because that's what the appraiser was trying to do. So would an individual, one opportunity may be that the county can order an appraisal and it's paid for by the individual requesting the reduction?
So, Senator, that could be done, and this is brings up much of the discussion, fair market value. Our appraisers work off of mass appraisals, so fair market value isn't always arrived at individual properties. Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and that's why I was suggesting that an individual appraisal be required.
I heard you. I'm thinking about 1616 in the future. So thank you, Senator. Getting a little ahead of myself for debate this week. Amelia, would that be possible, or?
It sounds like a lot of the discussion is discussion from a public policy standpoint of whether you want to add an amendment. It's not, I mean.
But would it, a conceptual amendment on that account, would you be able to put one together for the committee? Or is that asking too much?
Since the chair allows conceptual amendments, I can facilitate that, but if the maker of the motion can restate exactly what the motion is, that would be helpful.
That would be great. Would you state your motion as clearly as possible, Senator Francisco?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I, as part of the application, the owner who sold the property must also pay for a, I mean, and they couldn't pick the appraiser, an appraisal on the property.
Senator, and just a second, how about it's the property owner must provide an appraisal by a, I don't know, maybe we're not ready for this, but committee, I would like to work the bill today, but it seems like we need to get some language for amendments. Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would be comfortable with the property owner must provide an appraisal from a licensed appraiser as part of the application.
Okay, is that your motion?
I move that amendment.
Okay, is there a second on the amendment? On the motion? Okay. Okay, it's been moved by Senator Francisco, seconded by Senator Corson, that an appraisal must be provided by the applicant, a professional approved appraisal. She'll get the terminology for, okay, great. Senator Francisco.
And we could add not older than 6 months or something, so that the appraisal it can't be the appraisal you had when you bought the property.
Okay. Is the second okay with that change to the motion? Okay. Discussion on the motion. Senator Starnes and Senator Clem.
My question is, so is this then the appraisal that'll be used for the 97%? I'm confused about how the county then how they get the, to fill out the form if it's that 97%. I'm just confused on which one. So you're going to say you're going to use the buyer's going to have an individual appraisal, yet all the other ones are based upon the max or the grouping appraisals at the county, and so then it would change the amount that they then can fill out for this form to get this rebate? I'm just a little confused about that. I don't.
So I think they're looking at the difference of, so what the objective is, that your county appraisal has been a certain amount, and you've been paying taxes on that amount. And they're saying that you're paying over what you should have been, and they can verify that with an actual appraisal. And so that would be what the difference is that they're looking at. Amelia?
But I believe, and the maker of the motion can correct me if I'm wrong, the way I interpret the motion, the appraisal is essentially additional documentation that needs to accompany the application. The sale price of the property is still the sale price of the property that's being used for the comparison of whether it was 97% or less of the county's appraised value.
That is correct. And so it would raise the question, why is the appraisal needed? Because you have the sale and the county appraisal. So Senator Clinton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was going to just layer onto that as well. If a appraisal is going to be required and the bringer of that is going to be charged the homeowner or the person with an additional cost in the pain of going through this process, it feels like if they were vindicated, we would credit that appraisal cost back in the amendment if we go down that path.
Yes, and well, any further discussion on the motion? Senator Owen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I along with you, do not see kind of the logic in adding an appraisal. I mean, I argue that appraisals, especially on residential properties, are very subjective anyway. And what we're allowing with this legislation is allowing the market. The market is the one deciding what the value is. An appraisal is an additional cost, throws a complexity into this that I don't think belongs there. And so I'm going to be against the motion, but certainly supportive of the legislation.
Further discussion. Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was simply trying to address the senator from Johnson's concern about how you know if the sales price is really representing the fair market value. I'm assuming the county then could, the county can say an application shall be denied if they intentionally altered the property or accepted less, and then we are putting that opportunity, I guess, the county would have an opportunity to get an appraisal and say, look, this is what we believe.
Yes, okay. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion fails. We're back on the bill. Committee, what are your wishes on the bill? Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Seeing no further discussion, I would make a motion that the Senate Assessment and Taxation Committee pass Senate Bill 319 and recommend it favorable for passage.
Is there a second on the motion? It's been moved by Senator Peck, seconded by Senator Owens. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Committee, I'll turn your attention to Senate Bill 498. Amelia, will you give us an overview?
Certainly. Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senate Bill number 498 relates to income tax and would provide an income tax credit for the retail sale of higher ethanol blends of fuel and discontinue the existing income tax credit for qualified alternative fuel motor vehicle property or fueling station expenditures. Specifically, the bill would amend KSA 7932-201 to discontinue the existing income tax credit after tax year 2026. For any taxpayers who may have excess unused credit under that provision, they could continue to carry those over in accordance with the subsections C and D. The bill would also add a new income tax credit for a retail dealer that sells higher ethanol blend at such retail dealer's retail service station for taxable years 2026 through 2031. The amount of the credit would be 5 cents per gallon of higher ethanol blend sold by the retail dealer. Unused credits may be carried forward for up to 5 taxable years, and the credit would not be refundable. The total amount of tax credits pursuant to the subsection shall not exceed $2.5 million per tax year.
Thank you, Amelia. Any questions, committee? Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I was thinking we had a sunset, but apparently my thought was only the taxable years 26 through 31, not necessarily a sunset. Would that be correct?
Amelia? Is there, Senator, a motion would be in order to put a sunset on. So, I'm sorry, Amelia, the senator's considering a sunset, and he thought with the current language that there was something that applied as a sunset, but I don't think there is.
The current language of the bill in the new language found on page 4, line 4, that the new tax credit is for sales that occur during, or for, the tax credit actually is for taxable years 2026 through 2031.
Okay, thank you, Amelia. But that doesn't sunset the bill, it just says the sales through that period. Amelia?
If the language were adopted, those would be the years of the tax credits. I believe the Department of Revenue would likely interpret the carry forward provision to still apply if the credits were originally during that time period. But it would essentially, after 2031, would be a provision that no longer has an effect. It would still be in the statute book, but it would just have no effect.
So, and to be clear, there's no transferability on this credit, is that correct?
Correct, it is not transferable.
And non-refundable?
Correct, it is not refundable, and I am not seeing any transferability provision. So not refundable, not transferable.
Okay, and how long is the carry forward?
The carry forward is up to 5 taxable years immediately following the taxable year in which the credits were initially allowed.
Thank you, Amelia. So committee, what are your wishes on the bill? Any other questions? Senator Schallenberger? Oh, okay.
I'd make a motion to pass it out.
Think there's going to be an amendment. But, okay, I think he's looking at the years. Any other discussion on the bill? Seeing none, Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Again, I came into committee thinking that we had a sunset, and it almost looks like for taxable years. So the sales would happen to happen during those taxable years, 26 through 31. So it would be basically a 5-year program, as I read it. And I'm going to certainly let the reviser correct me if I say anything incorrect. But then the carry forward could be up to 5 years after 2031. Is that correct?
Amelia?
The first part of the comment, I just want to clarify that 26 through 31, I think is actually 6 years if you count, because there's another year in there, just for clarification. I believe, you might ask the Department of Revenue if, but I believe they would still allow the unused credit carry forward for the 5 additional, for up to 5 additional years following the, if those carry forward beyond 31. If you did not want them to carry forward beyond 31, we could add language to clarify that no carry forward shall be used after tax year 2031.
Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Because of the fact we can always come back and remove a sunset, extend a program if we determine as a legislature that this is a program of benefit that benefits the state of Kansas or our producers. And I do understand that this would be 6 years when you count 26, 27, et cetera. So not having a written amendment conceptually, Madam Chairman, I would like for this to be a 5-year program, so we would change the year 2031 to 2030, and then the carry forward would expire 2 years later in 2032, which I still think is very generous. But we'll see what the committee thinks about that, if you can get a second, but that would be my motion, and I trust that the reviser understood what I was saying, because sometimes I say things in such a way that everyone's confused in the room.
Amelia, are you good with that motion? Okay, she's good with it. Committee, is there a second? Senator Peck has made the motion. Senator Klemp seconded. Discussion on the motion. Senator Klemp.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With the migration to a 5-year, have we lost some of the time during 2026 to allow for the for this program, or they would still be able to take full credit during the year?
Yes, because the date is January 1. Anything purchased in 26 after this becomes law.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If in addition to this, we added a sunset that would be after 2032, would that then take it off the books?
I don't know that it ever comes off the books once it's in, but Amelia? It would be basically off the books, but it would still be in statute. The language would still be.
Then that's not important. I just am trying to save a little paper in the statute books.
Yeah. Senator Schallenberger.
Thank you. I'm sorry to keep talking, but maybe I can stall long enough to. I understand what the vice chairman is trying to do, but you know, in the course of business, loss carry forwards is because you just didn't pay enough tax this year to take advantage of it, and sometimes it takes a year or two for that to happen. I would hate for somebody in the 3rd or 4th year of this program be ready to buy blenders and all the things necessary to do it, and they say, I can't get the tax break. I don't pay enough income tax this year, I won't pay them next year. And so I just think the usual handling the tax credit in the usual way would be better. So I'm going to oppose the amendment.
Any other discussion? Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In addition to that, because there's a limit to how much credit can be given out each year, some of the carry forward may be because not that you weren't paying enough taxes, but there was not enough, or the credit was distributed proportionately. Is that correct?
I'm not sure about that. Amelia, do you mind, or Eddie?
I don't think the limit has anything really to do with the carry forward. The limit is the 2.5 million per year. So if you have a 5-year limitation on the credits, you're looking at 2.5 million times 5. That's the, the outward bounds of where the liability would lie, whether they take the credit in the first year when they earned it, or whether they take it in the 5th year carry forward.
So if I may, that's part of the problem. I understand the carry forwards. I always have been very supportive of those, but it does make it difficult for us to know when they're going to be used in what years. And we've got a lot of carry forward. We're talking over $1 billion in carry forwards that are hanging out there right now. And I'm not arguing for or against this. I just want the committee to understand the difference, because there is no limit as to the year that they can use the carry forward. It's just the issuing of the tax credit, is my understanding. Amelia?
Different statutes are drafted differently. This particular bill includes the carry forward for up to 5 taxable years. So if you think about, let's think about someone who, based on the current motion, receives their credit for tax year 2030. That would be when it was awarded based on sales in 2030. So their possible carry forward years would be 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. And that seems like that would then be the end of the, just from a logistical standpoint, that would be the end of the carry forwards.
But not with this amendment, because this amendment limited the carry forwards until 2032.
Correct. The motion was to end all carry forwards so that they expire after 2032.
So that you would know that the program is finished and complete. Yes. Committee, any other discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion fails. Committee, what are your wishes? Senator Schallenberg.
I'll make a motion to, that the tax committee pass out this particular bill number we're working on favorably. 498.
It's been moved by Senator Schallenberger, seconded by Senator Corson. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none. Committee, I'm just a little reluctant. I'm sorry. Okay, no further discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Committee, we're finished with our work. Before turnaround, very much appreciate all your hard work. I am pretty excited about our first meeting when we come back. I have scheduled for a short 10 to 15 minute visit with the city manager from Chanute, Kansas, who has removed all of the mill levies for the city of Chanute. They removed them in 2023, and I just thought it would be good for the committee to hear the innovativeness and what they've done, and just to see other options besides property tax for local governments. So committee will continue to work on property taxes and other tax issues. Is there any other business to be brought before us? Seeing none, we're adjourned. Thank you.